Dwayne Johnson is one of the most beloved celebrities working in entertainment. I've talked before about how I think about how his experience working in the WWE turned him into one of the greatest performers of all time. If you haven't, I recommend you check out my video about wrestling after this, but well, you can't anymore since the WWE blocked it in all countries. But check in the description, I have an unlisted version they didn't get. But suffice to say, if a wrestler is like a piece of coal, then the insurmountable pressure of performing continuously throughout the entire year on national television is the seismic pressure that can transform them into the shining diamond or break them entirely. In The Rock's case, it turned him into the greatest performer. Everyone likes The Rock. He's one of the highest paid actors in the world. He's a social media sensation. He's great with his kids. How could anyone dislike Dwayne Johnson? Except if you're Vin Diesel. Mr. Diesel has done what few others have managed to do. I'm sure there are plenty of people The Rock doesn't like, but being a consummate professional, he knows better than to air his grievances in public. But Vin Diesel pushed him one step too far. Most celebrity drama is stupid and petty. It's basically the equivalent of a workplace office cooler drama, just with more money at stake and more pomp and circumstance surrounding it. But is there something deeper into this little feud? Something hiding just below the surface? Well, join me as I explore and do a little amateur psychoanalysis at what I think is the root of the problem, so we can finally understand why The Rock and Vin Diesel hate each other, and how that hatred can help us understand our own humanity just a little bit better. So before we get into the meat of this video, I've been thinking of a new way to do the whole YouTuber call to action. I hate doing it, you hate hearing it. Like, comment, subscribe, ring the notification bell. It's supposed to help the channel grow, but it hasn't done shit for me lately. So I'm trying something new. This is my bird, Captain Crunch. He's a fun little parrot who mostly eats parrot pellets, but he likes to eat so many other things. Look at this picture where he tries to eat the Asian meatball dish I made. So here's the deal. I'm going to give you an engagement challenge, and if you can meet it by the time I drop my next video, then I'll feed Captain Crunch a special treat and record it so you can see it too. So for the first installment, I'm thinking of giving him his favorite birdie junk food, and that is sunflower seeds. So here's what I need you to do. I have a second channel, Lobster Magnet and Friends. Due to a freak viral video, I now have the required watch time to get it monetized. But I need 1,000 subscribers before I can get full monetization. So help me hit that benchmark, and you can see Captain Crunch pig out in sunflower seeds. Link to the second channel in the description below, and if you guys like this, got all kinds of crazy stuff I'd love to feed Captain as treats in the future. You gotta love to be gone back yet. Don't you grab it. Vin Diesel has had a very interesting career climbing his way to the top. From his modest beginnings as a model demonstrating street shark toys at the Javits Center Toy Fair.
Head shark! Rocky Balboa action.
He managed to make his way into Hollywood, where he landed a small but memorable part in Saving Private Ryan, as well as the lead voice for the titular Iron Giant.
Total evidence that he could do the Iron Giant because his voice had a great power to it, and yet there was great gentleness.
But it was the two-pack punch of the small little cult film Pitch Black and the street racing cool kids car chase movie Fast and Furious, where he stole DVD players from 18-wheeler trucks that brought him into the big times. Vin Diesel was going to be the next action superstar. His deep, gravelly voice and oiled muscles meant he'd serve as the new generation's James Bond in Triple X. He transformed the cult hit of Pitch Black into the spiraling sci-fi epic in The Chronicles of Riddick, all while taking a big fat $20 million paychecks. Hell, he even turned down a big payday for Too Fast, Too Furious just so he could make his big sci-fi epic. But Chronicles of Riddick was a huge bomb, and Vin Diesel's acting prospects began to stall out. He was a victim of overestimating his talents. There's something strangely endearing about Vin Diesel. On one hand, he wants to be seen as the definitive action Hollywood tough guy. Hell, at one point he even tried to make a movie based on his old D&D character Melkor, but later settled with just making The Last Witch Hunter. Fun fact, Vin Diesel didn't get paid for his cameo in the third Fast and Furious movie, Tokyo Drift. He was compensated with the rights to the Riddick character, which he used to make the third Riddick movie that did decently, but not amazingly well. But Vin Diesel quickly became typecast, and also only seemed to find consistent success when he was racing cars in the Fast and Furious franchise. Luckily enough, Fast and Furious grew into its own mega brand. What was once the offshoot street racing franchise became a bona fide action heist superhero movie series, where instead of wearing capes, the heroes of the Furious franchise wore wife beaters and drove sports cars. The movies became progressively dumber and dumber, but they always seemed to have a self-aware quality that made all the ludicrous stunts palpable. But the thing that managed to help the Furious movies stand out was the recurring theme of family.
Family now.
I already lost my family once.
Family just got bigger. There's always room for family.
We're family.
Now I know you guys are a family.
You want to make this family whole again?
You don't turn your back on family.
Your code is about family.
Brother never told you never threaten a man's family?
This is your family. This is my family.
The newest addition to our family.
Almost killed my family.
Hosting his family in the Dominican Republic.
You need to stop him before he does any more damage to our family.
Family, 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 family.
The theme of building real families and found families is what helped it resonate on a deeper level. In a weird way, family became to Fast and Furious what friendship has always been towards the world of shonen anime. Whether intentionally or not, the films began to reflect the overarching storytelling trend of shonen manga by introducing a villain, then having that character become a part of the Fast family in subsequent movie sequels.
このライバルキャラは最初は敵として出てくるが最終的には仲間になるのが少年漫画の醍醐味になっている。こういう感じだな。ライバルと戦って勝つ。いつの間にか仲間に。新たにライバル出現。戦って勝つ。新たな仲間ができる。これを永遠と繰り返していくのがジャンプシステムというやつだ。
We saw this with The Rock's character Hobbs, who later becomes a part of the Fast family, and later with Jason Statham's Shaw, who would also eventually become part of the Fast crew. But it's a formula that works, seeing how most of the recent Fast movies have made $1 billion. But there is trouble in paradise when The Rock, the nicest, happiest, most agreeable superstar in the world, posted something a bit out of character on Instagram while filming the 8th Fast movie. This was so completely off-brand from the confident but not cocky energy that has dominated The Rock's publicity ever since he moved into the realm of being a movie star. I'm sure there are plenty of people The Rock has met and didn't like, but this is the one and only very rare moments where his public facade mask came down and we got to see the real Dwayne Johnson.
My male co-stars, however, are a different story. Some conduct themselves as stand-up men and true professionals, while others don't. The ones that don't are too chicken shit to do anything about it anyway. Candy asses. When you watch this movie next April, and it seems like I'm not acting in some of those scenes, and my blood is legit boiling, you're right.
I'm sure the Fast sets are tight, efficient machines like most $200 million movie sets tend to be. Did Vin Diesel come to set late? Did he make things difficult during shooting? I don't have any answer, but I think there is a key source to the animosity. It's a matter of perception. Let's be honest, most of the principal members of the Fast crew, people like Vin Diesel, Michelle Rodriguez, Sun Kang, Ludacris, and Tyrese, outside of the Fast films, well, how should I put this? They're not in great demand. They're not the kind of people who are landing huge roles in other blockbusters, and they seem mostly fine with it. The Fast franchise is feeding them plenty, and they have an eternal place in the family, and the family treats them well. But for one person who it probably doesn't sit well for is Vin Diesel. Vin Diesel has not had much success outside of the Furious family, but he still views himself as kind of an A-list talent. I can only imagine that the success of The Rock only exacerbates this sense of insecurity. I mean, what can't the man not do? He got his own prestige HBO show, he headlines multiple super successful movies, even the terrible movies like Skyscraper and Rampage and San Andreas still make money. He can rap bars from Lin-Manuel Miranda. He has a successful YouTube channel and his own digital media company, 7 Bucks Entertainment. Even with him headlining in comedies, action movies, blockbusters, despite all his unparalleled success, he still finds time to make the occasional wrestling appearance just to stay in touch with his roots and show that no matter what he does next, he will always respect where he came from. This is where we get into the Rock feud. Vin Diesel has not seen the same kind of success, but he still views himself as a high-level thespian, a bona fide movie star despite the fact he can't carry anything outside of the Fast and Furious franchise. The Rock doesn't need to be in the Fast and the Furious movies, Vin Diesel does. So here is the central tension. You have a big ego, and you can see that there's this other alpha male on set. You're 6 feet tall, but he's 6'5". You're worth $225 million, but he's worth $400 million. You got 77 million followers on Instagram, but he's got 289 million followers. You've got muscles, but you also have been photographed letting your gut hang out and having that full dad bod on display. The other guy is always a chiseled Adonis of muscular glory, always. He has an entire trailer that follows him around so he never misses leg day. He forced Warner Media to make an entire $200 million superhero movie that nobody wants to see into a major release just because somebody told him he looked like Black Adam. You get to voice a CGI plant monster that says one line again and again with different inflections.
Yo soy Groot. Yo soy Groot. Moxie Groot. Yo soy Groot.
It's not hard to see where an inferiority complex might start to build up and why there's some hostility when the guy who you let into your franchise seems to take it over to the point where he got his own action spin-off from your movie series that nearly made $1 billion. If I had that kind of chip on my shoulder, I'd be acting pretty shitty too. Famed bad movie podcast The Flophouse, hosted by comedy writers Elliot Kalin, Dan McCoy, and Stuart Wellington, did an episode on the doomed superhero franchise starter Bloodshot starring Vin Diesel. Alongside their guest, actor Griffin Newman, they do a little deep dive into what aspects define Vin Diesel's career as an action star and what makes him so unique.
I like Vin Diesel, but I'm not quite sure why.
You're not in like with him.
Because I feel like he does not exude much in the way of personality.
Well, I disagree with you there.
Yeah. I want to hear your defense, Elliot.
Oh, no, I think kind of a caricature or an exaggeration of masculinity makes sense. To me, Vin Diesel, even when he's playing a serious part, is always winking.
Like
There's always
Xander
a part
Cage?
of him. When he's playing a serious part like Xander Cage or Pitch Black or Fast, that there's something about him that's always kind of like about to look at the audience and be like, can you believe I get to do this shit? And I really find that endearing about him, that he doesn't, if you compare him to someone like, ironically, Jason Statham, who is a much winkier performer, I get the feeling that he's like, no, I could do all these things. If you asked me to do them in real life, I could do them. Whereas Vin Diesel is like, this is all made up craziness. Like, let's just blow it out. Let's have fun with it. Like, Griffin, is that how you feel? Or
100%. You nailed that perfectly. And I think if you want to like establish, 3 points on a masculinity scale, right? And it's cinematic masculinity, like our modern action star, right? And it's Statham, The Rock, and Vin Diesel. And I'm not ranking them in terms of quality, although Vin is obviously the top. But I'm saying, like, if you look on the spectrum here...
I mean, Statham is a pretender to
there's
that one, but
there's a lot of
Rock
bald
fans.
dads out there that are angry.
I'm throwing this out.
I just don't. I feel like we're running down Statham a lot more than I'm comfortable with because I feel like
I love Statham. But I do think there's a distinction, which, as Elliot said, Statham is more openly winking to the audience, right? Whereas Vin has a greater level of sincerity than Statham, but is also more self-aware than The Rock, who is so fully buying his own bullshit, you know?
Yes.
And Vin's like right between the two. Statham, for me, though I love him, is a little bit too winky to be able to fully emotionally invest in him as a protagonist. The whole movie's always in quotes. And then The Rock is buying his own bullshit a little bit too much. And I think Vin is this perfect balance in terms of the like machismo baldies of the 2000s and on, where he like means everything he says in like a John Wayne kind of way, where it's like it does not resemble normal human behavior, but it is imbued with as much emotional integrity as possible. But he is also so aware that he is himself like a special effect. Like his voice, the fact that his name is goddamn Vin Diesel, which was by choice, like everything about it. Yeah.
Someone once told me that the name Vin Diesel he came up with because when he was young, he spent time around in the drag community, I guess. And there's something about him that is like
drag racing, right?
Drag racing, yeah. But there's something in him that is kind of like I assume, I don't know anything about his personal life. I have always assumed he's straight, but I don't know. Like a straight man who is like, I'm going to totally absorb into me that kind of like comment on masculinity that is part of drag, and I'm going to make that part of my persona in a way that is both straightforward and both commenty. It's weird that like when you talk about bald masculinity, the person I would compare Vin Diesel the most with, strangely enough, is Telly Savalas.
Yes,
yes. It was where I had a similar sense of like this guy means what he says, but he also knows that what he's saying is kind of crazy, and but he's going all out with it, you know.
Elliot, I hate to tell you this, but I might fuck you by the end of this episode.
Oh,
I am so turned on.
Oh, man.
You are taking things out of my mouth, things I A, have said about Vin to other people, and B, things I have never even figured out how to verbalize before. Do you know that Kojak is one of Vin Diesel's favorite characters of all time? For the last 5 years, he's been trying to set up a Kojak movie. I also just want to point out the way you know that this is a film made by a director who understands Vin Diesel as a star, because I stopwatched it. I believe it is 4 minutes and 52 seconds in. Once they've landed the plane at the base and Vin turns to all his grunts and says, that's who we're doing it for, he wastes no time to immediately take off his uniform and reveal the wife beater underneath, which is, for Vin Diesel, pulling off an outer layer and revealing a wife beater is like Captain America picking up his shield. It is the moment you know you are cooking with gas.
Yes, Vin Diesel is bald action man drag, a weird sort of sincere but also showy, over-the-top performance that feels somewhat self-aware to the point where it's almost a living parody of itself. But here's the thing, the important distinction. I don't think Vin Diesel is very self-aware of this fact. I think he's deluded into thinking he's as big of a star and his work is as influential and important as many Hollywood action stars of the past. The most telling quote is this little ditty when he talked about his personal life, when discussing why he doesn't show off his personal life as prominently as some other actors. His response was this:
I'm not gonna put it out there on a magazine cover like some other actors. I come from the Harrison Ford, Marlon Brando, Robert De Niro, Al Pacino code of silence.
On one hand, you could read this as Vin talking about his ethics towards showcasing his kids and wife in tabloid photos, but I think the real subtext that's basically text is that Vin Diesel sees himself as serious and important an actor on the same level as Harrison Ford, Marlon Brando, and Robert De Niro. There was a time when Mr. Diesel might have been able to court those comparisons, back when he was in Saving Private Ryan and in The Boiler Room, but I think the time where you took his acting chops seriously has long since passed away, somewhere around the time when he fought a tank with a sports car. But in many respects, I can empathize with Diesel. We all have egos that must be satiated. We all want to feel good about our positions in life. I also get that angry chimp-like response whenever I see someone brag about a new job opportunity, a successful marriage, or a new milestone like having a kid or buying a home on social media. My inner monkey screams and howls and wants to say mean things in their comment section. How dare they have the success that I don't have? Screw them. I just want to fling feces in their general direction. And I'd imagine this is how Vin Diesel feels about The Rock. The Rock doesn't need Fast and Furious. If anything, by giving his time to the franchise, he's managing to elevate it. But Fast and Furious could always use The Rock's help to, throw a torpedo at a car barehanded. Vin Diesel tried to do a sort of public apology tour, but notice how he always tries to keep himself elevated, to maintain his position as the patriarch of power steering. In an interview with Men's Health, he said he gave The Rock tough love on set to get the performance needed from him and take things to the next level. Then he posted a public Instagram post trying to coax him to return to the 10th film. The post reads,
My little brother Dwayne, the time has come. The world awaits the finale of Fast 10. As you know, my children refer to you as Uncle Dwayne in my house. There's not a holiday that goes by the day and you don't send well wishes. But the time has come. Legacy awaits. I told you years ago that I was going to fulfill my promise to Pablo. I swore that we would reach and manifest the best fast in the finale that is 10. I say this out of love. But you must show up. Do not leave the franchise idle. You have a very important role to play. Hobbs can't be played by no other. I hope that you rise to the occasion and fulfill your destiny.
Oh man, just notice how he tries to put The Rock in a diminutive role, calling him out as his little brother, even though they're only maybe less than 5 years apart. He's trying to show humility, but still letting The Rock know who stands atop the Hollywood hierarchy in the world of Fast and Furious. He even goes so far to invoke his children and the Holy Spirit of the deceased Paul Walker in the ultimate guilt trip. The Rock took it as well as you'd imagine he would, and talked about it in his response in a CNN interview, saying,
I told Vin directly that I would not be returning to the franchise. I was firm yet cordial with my words and said that I would always be supportive of the cast and always root for the franchise to be successful, but that there was no chance I would return. Vin's recent public post was an example of his manipulation. I didn't like that he brought up his children in the post as well as Paul Walker's death. Leave them out of it. We'd spoken months ago about this and came to a clear understanding.
It was as much of a PR-mandated response as you could ask for, and honestly, I don't blame him. We don't have any direct anecdotes from set where it all happened, but I can only figure that as The Rock grew his empire, Vin grew angrier and angrier to see the one place he could rule as king being slowly usurped as the spotlight slid further and further away from him. Maybe that's half the reason John Cena was cast in the most recent film, to bring in another wrestler rival who could replace The Rock. But to me, this whole exchange is fascinating. In wrestling, there's a term known as kayfabe. It's when the wrestlers treat the storyline, staged events within the industry as real. They never break the illusion or reality of the on-screen performance, but sometimes their personal grievances and real-life struggles bleed into their on-stage performances. What was fiction becomes reality. In his little feud, we saw The Rock break his professional kayfabe as an actor who's always positive, as someone who will smile as he sells the worst movie with the greatest sincerity. Working in the ring taught him how to never break kayfabe, and he took those lessons to destroy the worlds of social media. You might think his energy drink, vodka brand, or Jungle Cruise movie are complete shit, but when he's smiling at you, you can't help but be charmed and believe him. Take one of my favorite Instagram posts he made talking about the movie Rampage.
Go in, Primal! Good to finally have boots on the ground here in Georgia for the production of #Rampage. I head up an anti-poaching unit out of Rwanda. My best friend is a rare albino gorilla named George. Very bad people infect George, an alligator and a wolf with a serum. All three animals grow at an unprecedented rate. Their size, speed, agility, and violent aggression is off the charts. They go on a deadly rampage and want to destroy the world. George not happy? Me not happy. When animals like you, they lick you. When they don't like you, they kill you. I will hunt down the bad people who did this to my best friend, and when I find them, I will not lick them.
It's so stupidly sincere, I can't help but love it. So to see this feud that typically is hidden behind closed doors on set spill out into such a public forum, you can't help but see the real egos at play. The Rock did something he usually wouldn't do in this current era and has broken his immaculate mask. Vin Diesel's harassment and attitude, just trying to continue to remain the undisputed patriarch of power steering, rubbed Dwayne so badly that he'd rather turn down an easy money $10 million payday and back-end bonus than subject himself to being in a subservient position to Vin Diesel. Ego makes us do stupid things. Vin should just be happy with what he has and what he's managed to attain, but the fact is, we're all human. We all want to feel good and accomplished, and when you take that away, that's when things really go primal. Our latent animal instincts take over and we do stupid things. On one hand, I don't really have any side I take in this feud. I completely understand Diesel's insecurity. If anything, I think it makes him feel more relatable. By the same token, I also see why The Rock would have no patience. He doesn't need Fast and Furious. He showed that he was strong enough to launch his own Fast and Furious sub-brand and could star in a number of other film franchises. He is a supernova which others orbit around at this point until he gets bored of that and decides to become a politician. But that's what makes his story of a celebrity feud so interesting to me. And I think that's what I like most about this little drama. You could say that God is dead. As the influence of religion has waned and society has grown more secular, we still pine for those figures to worship, and filling that void has been the cult of celebrity. We love to pick our favorite actors or athletes and put them up on a pedestal, but at the end of the day, they're still just humans. But it's easy to forget that, especially in the machinations of Hollywood and social media. But I think that's what I like most about this little drama. For as much as Vin Diesel is shown as the massive hulk of bald muscle, at the end of the day, he's just like us with his own set of petty insecurities, which he takes out on his coworker. That despite the seemingly unshakable smile that persists through all the conflict, that even Dwayne Johnson, the immovable Rock, can be driven off his immaculate pedestal and also carry a very human grudge. If he sees himself as being disrespected, often the Hollywood Mount Olympus can still be just like us. So let me know what you think. Are you Team Rock or Team Diesel? Who's right and who's wrong in this petty little squabble? We'll never quite learn all the details, but let me know if seeing that even successful people can be so petty and small, does that make you feel a little bit better about your own feelings? Thanks for watching this video. I'd like to give a special thank you to comedian Asterios Kokonos, who lent his dulcet vocal talents towards voicing The Rock and Vin Diesel. Hope you enjoyed those impressions as much as I did. You, of course, can follow him and his fiancée on their Patreon, where they produce the loudest podcast, where they get into all kinds of fun comic misadventures, like going into a corn maze or meeting the insane creator of Garfield Eats, along with an assortment of many other fun side podcasts, like Chris Story, where Sriracha recounts the terrifying history of Chris Chan de Asterios. You can listen to the loudest podcast for free on the link below, but go pledge to him on Patreon, join me for all the fun, because I'm a member too! Of course, a special thank you to my patrons, the action superstars who support me through thick and thin, my own personal team of expendables complete with 80s action hero names and catchphrases, or more like I use the 80s action hero generator to give them action hero names and catchphrases like Eric Duhane or Thrust Crackbone, Toodaloo Buckaroo, Shonen Ronin, or as he's known in Germany, Seamus Bicep. Ever been on a blind date with a bullet? Walking the Steps, or as he's known in the series of direct-to-DVD releases, Ace House. I've got a bone to snap with you. Carla Hoffman, the femme fatale of late-night television, Fist Slap Cheek. Here comes the Hurricane of Pain. Aaron Toney, otherwise known as Blast Rockfist. Death is such a tease. And last but not least, the man ready for his comeback as the badass dad, Joseph Malty, or as he's known on the big screen, Feral Slapcheek. I guess your face doesn't accept dollars, just pounds. Thanks to these special people for supporting my work. You can join them as well by contributing to my Patreon. So get on helping out my bird by subscribing to my second channel if you want to see him enjoy some sunflower seeds, or maybe you're just a jerk who wants to keep him eating pellets. The choice is in your hands. See ya whenever I put out my next video.